the DML stand for? It stands for Dennis Michael Lynch, filmmaker, friend of the program. We've talked to him a whole bunch of times, and he's on the line with us right now. Dennis, good morning.
Riley, how's it going, pal?
Going very well, Dennis. How's everything with you? You're coming back off a pretty wild trip, aren't you?
Yeah, I was in Texas last week, down there at the Rio, and I don't know if you guys caught. I forwarded you the spot. I had a few spots on the Kelly file this week.
Absolutely.
The Friday night one was just off the charts because on Thursday when I was down at the in the Rio Grande Valley down there, I watched. If your viewers, if the listeners could think of a football field. On one end zone, the Border Patrol were chasing around families, and then on the other end zone, literally, drug cartel guys are carrying things and people across the border, and nobody's stopping them whatsoever. And then after I witnessed that, from a position where there should have been Border Patrol everywhere, and there was Border Patrol nowhere. In fact, there were more scouts, drug scouts next to me than there were Border Patrol. I went over to the bus station, the McAllen bus station, and was literally blown away by what I seen. I mean, it looked like a scene at a Disneyland when people are bussing people out and bussing people in, and all these people are smiling and they're getting their tickets. None of them can speak English. There's pregnant women all over the place, and I say this with caution because I don't want people to take it the wrong way, but that was the first time that my heart and my stomach ever felt like it had on the day of 9/11. On 9/11, when I stood under those buildings and ran from those buildings, I felt as if my nation had changed forever, and I felt that same way in that bus depot because what we were doing, and what's going to have what the ripple effects of this in jobs, and unemployment, and education, health, and national security across the board. I just know our country is never going to be the same.
Now, Dennis, you've seen a lot. I mean, your movies are about what you've seen, both on the border and on the interior of the country. So, as you describe it, I'm thinking, well, this is striking you in a different way. What is it about what's happening right now that you saw on the Texas border that is striking you so differently?
Yeah, in fact, and you guys have known me now. I think we've known each other for 3 years. I hope that I come across as a real credible guy to you. And before I got into filmmaking, I've been a successful entrepreneur since I've been 18 years old. I've had over 1,000 employees over that time. So I understand business, I understand economics, I understand all the things that make the country tick. And when I do my films, I think I've told you this before, I drive. I drive the country because it allows me to see what's taking place. And for the first time in my life, I've actually thought about changing my career from filmmaking, which I really enjoy doing, to actually getting into politics, because I don't see anybody doing what we need to be done in order to stop this. When not having a secure border is one thing, but when Border Patrol agents and ICE are given a directive that when people come over, you don't need to check them for health or whatever it may be. If they don't seem to be a threat, just take them to the bus depot and let them go anywhere USA. We're just at the point right now where we're completely upside down. There's nothing that makes sense. And I remember interviewing Rudy Giuliani for They Come to America Too. He said something that has stuck with me ever since. He says, Dennis, when we try to catch criminals, it's not a hard thing to do. What you do is you take your mindset and you try to think, how would I steal this car? How would I take this money? How would I cover up this murder? He goes, and believe it or not, that's why we capture many criminals. It's not a hard thing to do. But when you try to catch a terrorist, it becomes increasingly difficult because you have to bring your mind to a mindset that a rational person cannot bring themselves to. And in that same vein, if you look at everything that the Obama administration is doing and every way that Congress is reacting to it, none of it makes any sense. That's why you have a radio show. That's why I'm sitting here on it, and we keep on saying to each other, what? Why are they doing that for? Why are they releasing 5 terrorists for one deserter? Why are they allowing people to cross over into the U.S. and releasing gang members into the general population? This doesn't make any sense. We can't get our hands around it because it is just so upside down. It's so irrational. And I will tell you, I've said this for 2 years straight. I've said it on TV countless times. when Obamacare came out, everybody thought that that was his baby, and that's what he wanted in order to transform the country. And I've been screaming, no. That's a terrible insurance policy that could be repealed. It can be overwritten. It could be altered. When you allow the amount of people that we're allowing into this country and the way that we're allowing them to come, you cannot repeal that. And that is what transforms a country. That is ultimately what this man's legacy is going to be. Because even if I were the President of the United States, and you know how I feel about this, it would be a Herculean task, if not impossible, for me to be able to get the country back to where it was before he just started allowing the gates to flow open.
Spending some time with filmmaker, noted filmmaker, we might add, Dennis Michael Lynch. You want to go to his website, dmldaily.com. Everything that he's discussing with us here, he's got posted right up there. There's lots of things you can look at, lots of things you can read, lots of video. And that's the thing, you mentioned credibility. Well, you walk around with a camera on, with a microphone on, and, you capture what is happening right in front of you. This isn't just hearsay. This isn't just, hey, I saw this, so I wrote it down. You document everything that you see. I've got to ask you, because I know that you get out there and you talk to people on both sides of this issue. We keep hearing that down in Central America, South America, all south of the border, there's notices going up saying, hey, come on in. Everything's been relaxed. It's the best time in the world to get over to America.
Yeah.
True?
Yeah. Oh, of course it's true. I'll give you another one, something I'm working on this morning. Colonel Alan West posted it on his website, and I read it, and there was an advertisement. The government put out an advertisement back in January for escorts, people that would help with the influx of children from Central America. This was advertised in January. Now, not only is that advertisement there, but when I interviewed the Border Patrol agent, and I've got the video of it, sending it up to Fox today, when I interviewed a Border Patrol agent, he said to me, you have to understand, America is seeing this today. We were given the directive 6 months ago in January that when families come over, we are to release them into the general public. So this was all orchestrated. Although we're covering it now as media outlets, this was something that was in the works. It's too coincidental. It doesn't make any sense. And here's something that your listeners have to understand when they hear about the families. What's taking place, and if you look at the photos on my website, like you had said, and also they should go to facebook.com/DML Daily, because I don't post everything on my website like I do on my Facebook. You look at the photos, one after the next, after the next, after the next. It's always a woman and a child, a woman and a child. Well, what's happening is these women and children are coming up to the U.S., and gang members and drug cartel guys and very criminal-like minds, people who have bad histories in their own home countries, which we're not going to be able to identify until it's too late. They're hooking up with these women. They're pretending as if they're families. They're coming across. They're sitting down in front of the Border Patrol agents. They're all using the same narrative. I'm escaping my country as a refugee. I'm afraid for my life. They're being released into the U.S., and they separate. So these aren't real families. And the Border Patrol agents say, listen, as interrogators, we can tell, once we get past the first question, you can tell these two people haven't lived with each other. But we have no recourse. There's nothing we can do. And if they do find a criminal, guys, this one will disturb you big time. When somebody sits down in front of them, they do the interview process. If they run the person's name or they run the fingerprints or whatever, and it comes back that this person has 4 DWIs already in the U.S. and they've been deported a couple of times, all that happens is that they take that person, they walk them to the point of entry bridge going back to Mexico, they walk them halfway, and then the border agent walks away back into the U.S. The Border Patrol agents are telling me that they're catching the same person 3 and 4 times a week. So it ultimately comes down to, it's going to be, how many times does it take you to get across that you don't get caught? And it's an endless flow. The other part, if somebody has murdered somebody, or if somebody has ties to a terrorist organization, or they've got 10 DWIs or 2 DWIs or an assault record back in their home country of Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, you name it, we have no way of knowing that. No way of knowing that. And then, of course, and so these people get released into the general public. And then, of course, there's the disease. You've got to see some of the pictures of these people. I mean, they look like they're on death's door. They're getting released into the general public. And the health check guys is this. The Border Patrol agent says, Scott, Riley, do you have any health issues? And you say, no. And I don't see anybody coughing. I say, okay, fine, you're good. That's the health check.
Dennis.
These kids, let me just finish off on this one, okay? Because this problem seems like it's bad right now, and Governor Perry, thank goodness, has taken some measures to try to stop it, although they won't stop it because once these people come across, if they're catching them, they can't push them back into Mexico. They got to hand them over to ICE, and ICE isn't prepared. Here's two things you need to worry about in a big way. Number one, the amount of people that are still coming to this country right now is earth-shattering. It's a 30 to 45-day travel, and I have intel from my guys who are telling me entire villages in Honduras and Guatemala are being emptied, and they're on their way here now because the word over the last couple of weeks have gone out that you can get into America, you're going to get a bus ticket, you got no problems whatsoever. The worst thing is you got to sleep on the floor for 3 days in the Border Patrol station. You got to get here. So the flow is coming, all right? That's number one. Number two, we've already started to see it with the people who got here weeks ago. These kids are all going to be entering your school districts in the months to come. When school goes back into session, you watch. These kids are all going to school, and I've already gotten reports here in New York because they're busting them up into New York, where kids, American kids, like say my kid, who was getting extra help with Spanish, right? They're no longer getting the extra help with Spanish. They're taking these resources and now applying them to the new people who just arrived who speak no English whatsoever.
Dennis Michael Lynch with us, dmldaily.com, the website. Dennis, I hear you describe what's happening. I hear you talk about your conversations with Border Patrol agents, and it seems like a simple question, but I think it has to be asked. As you talk to these guys, what is their understanding about the role of the Border Patrol? What is the purpose of Border Patrol agents right now?
The Border Patrol agent right now is a high-paid taxi driver. They pick up people at the border, and they drive them to the center. And then after they drive them to the BP center, then they drive them to the bus station. That's basically what they're doing. They are just taxi drivers. And the morale among those guys is at an all-time low. There are guys who said, "Listen, there's Border Patrol is made up of a lot of guys also who have military backgrounds, and some of the guys I interviewed, that's what they're from. They're from the military, and they came out of the Border Patrol. They said, I took an oath to defend my country. I don't even want to get out of the truck anymore because if I get out of the truck to apprehend this guy and then bring him in, I'm just incurring a cost for the country. Whereas if I just let him go, at least I'm saving a little bit of money for people, and it's the same thing." There's a lot of guys who are now shifting out of that agency and going into another agency. These guys, people have to understand, this is not the Border Patrol failing to do their job. This is coming from very high up, and even right now, with all the pictures these guys are sending me and the videos they're sending me, I'm starting to see it stop. And it's starting to stop because they are getting threatened so heavily that if they get caught sending any pictures or any videos to anybody in the press, that they are going to be terminated. And these guys are starting to worry about their own livelihoods.
Yeah, I can't imagine. You mentioned a morale problem. Having to face all of those things where a guy says, it's just better not to even get out of the truck. Boy, it's got to be hard to get out of bed in the morning to go to work.
Yeah, because on top of that, you got to understand, it hits them twice. It hits them as the professional who is handcuffed from doing their job, and that alone is a loss of morale. And just imagine if you guys came into work every day and they forced you to talk about things that you didn't want to talk about, or else you were going to lose your job. You'd start to be disheartened. And then the second part is it kicks into them as an American citizen. These guys have wives, they have kids. They don't want to see their America crumble away. So it's hitting them twice. And let me say this too, because I hate to just be a guy who's reporting problems. I believe if you're going to report a problem, you better have a solution. And I can tell you right now how you could stop this immediately. There has to be a massive message sent, not only to the people of Central America, but to Mexico and to the world. We need to start deporting people immediately. You send them back, and not only do you send them back, you give an invoice to that country for sending them back. And if they don't pay that invoice, you cut off their visas to come here for other reasons. And let me tell you something. That tough love approach is gonna produce results. That is the only way to stop this flow now. It is the only way.
Dennis Michael Lynch with us, just another minute. I want to ask you this, Dennis. Listen, the president has said over and over again, and we don't believe him, and many don't, right? But the president keeps saying, the border's never been more secure. We're deporting more people than ever. The border's secure. That's why we can move on with comprehensive immigration reform. We have, I would imagine by this point, tens of thousands of unaccompanied minors across the border, in addition to those who are getting across on a normal basis. How is it possible that no one's asking the question? You say it's secure. You say it's never been more secure. Then how are these tens of thousands of minors getting across?
Look, the president has forever been telling the American people things that are misleading. And to say the border is secure is a downright lie. Jay Johnson, the Department of Homeland Security chief, who, oh, by the way, is another lawyer, he's heading down there today so he could assess the situation. He's a little late to the party. If you want to know what the president really intends for this country, just go back and listen to him say the words, "We are going to fundamentally transform America." I don't know about you, and I don't know about your listeners, but I can tell you something downright honest from my heart. We didn't need a transformation of America.
Amen.
Why did we need one? We don't need one. Now what we need is a transformation back to America. And guys, as I told you in the email, I'm traveling the country. I start a national tour on August 15th, and I'm not stopping until 2016 Election Day. So I'm going to be in your area in the first week of September. Love to hook up with you. Love to meet some of your listeners and just put the stuff that we talked about today and even more in front of them. So this way they can inform their friends and inform people. Here's another issue. You know how many people don't even know what's taking place along the border?
Mm-hmm.
I just met with our school principal for a different reason yesterday, and I said, what are you going to do about the influx of kids coming in here in September? And he said, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, people don't even know what's taking place on the border because the mainstream media is not reporting it.
This is why you need to follow Dennis Michael Lynch. Go to his website, DML Daily. Follow him on Facebook. Grab the videos. Learn something, because this guy is right there on the front lines of all of it for you. Dennis, it's always a pleasure for us to spend some time with you on your tour. You make sure you come on by here. We'll show you a good time.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Have a great
Thanks, Dennis.
weekend.